What is happening, everybody? It is time for a Thursday NBA Live Before Lock, where just 2 games for today, but that's twice as many games there are going to be tomorrow, Eric. We've only got a 1-game slate tomorrow. So do us favors, you guys are watching this. Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We do have a special deal for you guys today as well, which I'm pretty excited to talk about because there's something in it that I like. There's something in it that you like as well, Eric. We've kind of combined some things in there that are of interest to both of us. So talk about that a little bit as we go here, but just to open up here, Eric, how do you feel about Rudy Gobert and your Minnesota Timberwolves after last night?
I don't even know what to think anymore. Up is down, left is right. It was unbelievable. And I will say this too. I didn't get to watch the playback show, but I'm kind of bummed that I didn't because obviously I had a lot of work to do. And then I ended up watching the game with a bunch of buddies instead of going to it. But it sounds like we're on some alts for Rudy Gobert, the same way that you were looking at Jalen Green alts, or somebody else brought Jalen Green up to me as well. And I think that was you. But Rudy Gobert was really underpriced yesterday. And I mean, could not have eviscerated any more, period. As soon as DFS was starting, like they did in the second half there, I thought it would be an okay spot to maybe get to some of him in Showdown. He was 6% in Showdown, but holy crap, Greg, you've been on top of the alt stuff.
So there's a massive edge for betting and even for DFS in the playoffs as well, where people seem to think that whatever happened in the 1 or 2 previous games dictates whatever people's playing time is going to be for the remainder of the playoffs. It really should be a much better indicator. What guys played in the regular season is probably a much more apt comparison of what they're going to be getting as far as playing time goes in the postseason. And there's just been numerous times that we've seen guys who are established players. Like, we're not talking about like garbage players or anything like that, but like Rudy Gobert, Michael Porter Jr., obviously guys like LeBron, Luka, barring injury, their minutes are going to be their minutes. But there are these guys who are role players to star players to like borderline all-star players who have had bad games and have gotten benched or just haven't fit the game flow for whatever reason. And they play less minutes than they normally would. And then just the props come out and the way the DFS ownership, it just indicates that everybody thinks that Rudy Gobert is just a guy who plays 24 minutes per game now. No, not really. And then he got in a spot yesterday where he was being guarded by Luka and Dorian Finney-Smith. And there was nothing to do about it. He was just bigger than them. And it ended up being one of the best games that a center has ever had statistically in a closeout game. And benefited from it a little bit yesterday. So here's the same game parlay. Built it right on the show. So the idea here is Rudy Gobert plays his normal minutes. So had the alt over for his rebounds, had the under for the total points in the game. The idea being that if Gobert was going to be playing over Naz Reid, a little bit slower paced game, and then under for Naz Reid rebounds. Like, it all correlated together, and it was a sweat-free 24-1 win. Pretty nice. Like that for the same game parlay. And then as a result of that, what do we have going on here? We're going to be doing a promo only for the course of this show. Anybody who signs up for Portfolio EV with the promo code WOLVES, get yourself 50% off. So I won my Rudy Gobert bet last night. Eric's Minnesota Timberwolves, they are moving on to the second round of the playoffs, and we want you guys to celebrate with us. So sign up for Portfolio EV, link down below in the YouTube description box, 50% off promo code WOLVES. Just take advantage of that offer tonight because it's only going to be there until tonight, and then it goes away. So that's what we have to look at for promo that's going on right now. And now we'll talk about the NBA slate a little bit as well. Well, more than a little bit for the next 55 minutes. Eric, I want to know, as we start to get into this, any kind of general overarching thoughts to tonight's 2-game slate?
Yeah, it's a good one. I don't think, we got the Stewart news already, so we don't have to be sitting around waiting on that, because I feel like that's been a recurring thing with Detroit, is like, will he, won't he? And now 5 consecutive games, he won't. No, I think it's a really fun slate. Obviously, Jokic is 11-6 on the road. It's a little bit different than 11-6 at home, even though I guess last time it didn't even matter, because if you had told me that there was score infinity points and Jokic was a flat nothing and got outscored by like 35-40 against Giannis, I never would have believed you. But obviously we don't have him on today's slate. I think it's a really fun one, and we're trying to carve out very minute edges. We don't have any injury news that we're going to be reacting to, I don't believe, really, in the Denver portion of the program. So it's a slate that gets played straight up, which, isn't always my favorite, but this time of year, it definitely can be. As you said, people are reacting so much to box scores, building lineups so much based off of what just happened. I think we got 1 or 2 spots we can get a little bit different.
Yeah, we had one guy who was on the injury report earlier in the day. That's Isaiah Stewart. He has once again officially been ruled out. And I mean, I thought that when he was questionable for I forget which game it
Game
was
two.
initially heard.
Game two.
I thought he was going to be back the next game, and then he's just been, questionable and just never ended up playing again in this series. Which, I mean, if he was playing, he probably would have found a way to get himself ejected and suspended from some of these games anyway. So maybe it's the same ultimate overall result anyway.
I was going to say, finding himself into, I mean, this has been like Isaiah Stewart's playoffs to go like as is. We've got Pat Spencer headbutting dudes. We've got, just absolutely absurd things happening physically. Like this would be perfect for Isaiah Stewart to get ejected for, launching himself head first into a body. Like that would have been a lot of fun. Let's be serious.
Just going to read this from the chat because why not? Mike Kirchman says, man, I hate to talk about people, but my brother's wife is ugly. Last Christmas, they hung her. Okay. And kissed the mistletoe and the family portraits. They only kept the negatives. SMH. Well, listen, at least you don't have to look at her anymore, right? I think that's the end result here. Shout out to Mike and his family. Can't wait to see what you guys have in store for Christmas 2025. Christmas 2024. It seemed like a good one. Shout out to Mike. That's very.
Is this what happens on these two? I haven't been on a 2-game NBA slate show with you in a while. I feel like I think we've done maybe one these entire playoffs. Is this the shit that pops up in your chat? This is fantastic.
Not quite to that extent, but that is where we've started so far today. Also, if you guys do have questions for us as you go here, and if you are a Stokastic sub, hit me up in the Discord channel. I'm always on the lookout for any questions you guys have, and we will certainly be looking at those over the course of the show. Comment God saying, as Eric put up on screen, that she is a handsome woman. How would you know? Is he the brother? Maybe he's the brother. Who knows?
Many questions yet to be revealed.
Yeah, I want to hear from everybody involved in this situation. But all right, let's go ahead and talk about this slate where 2-gamer, we'll look at the ownership to start on both DraftKings as well as FanDuel. And beginning with DraftKings, it's pretty spread out, Eric. There's not like one guy who's pulling like 60, 70% ownership, which we have seen on a lot of these 2-game slates or even some of the 3-game slates over the course of the last week and a half or so. Here are the 3 players who are pulling over 40% ownership. Asar Thompson is 42% owned. Kawhi Leonard is 41% owned. Cade Cunningham is 40% owned. Of those 3 chalkiest options on DraftKings, do you find any of the ownership to be an issue for any of the 3?
No. I don't even know necessarily like how to expand upon it because like they all look fantastic and I want to get different elsewhere. Like the amount of minutes that we're just getting out of, the specific studs are one thing too. And then the price tag for Asar Thompson, like, I don't know. I feel like the chalk at the top is pretty darn good today. Don't you?
Yeah, I will say Asar gives me a little bit of pause just because he is somebody that they've been kind of hesitant to give bigger minutes to. And this is kind of the inverse of what I talked about before, where it's like, in the same way that somebody plays limited minutes in a game and then everybody's like, oh, like this is just what his minutes are now. I feel like the inverse has happened with Thompson as well, who is pretty consistently playing around 20 minutes. He plays 29 minutes last game. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, this must be the minutes he plays all the time now.
Yeah.
Here's the one thing though, because he's such a good fantasy producer. We got him projected for 0.94 fantasy points per minute. We only have him projected to play 25 minutes, and that still has him coming out to look really good. So I'm definitely a little bit nervous about his potential foul situation or what happens if his minutes get limited a little bit. But the good part of this is, at least relative to the other options, I can't find cheap guys that I really like all that much. Like there's some guys we'll talk about that we're trying to mine out here. But in the 4K range, I do feel a little bit forced on the Thompson, even if I don't feel great about the security of his playing time. Just because even in 25 minutes, if he's a fantasy point per minute guy, like you're putting him in for around 25 fantasy points. And at $4,300, that looks quite a bit better than anybody else in this price range. I think there's pivots we could talk about. There's one in particular that stands out to me. But like the Kawhi ownership, the Cade ownership, perfectly reasonable to me. If I'm not mistaken, Cade in all but one game of the series has been in the winning lineup. He's just been playing big minutes, rebounds, assists, scoring. He's been doing a little bit of everything. But I do have a pivot that I like off of Asar Thompson. Is there
Okay.
anybody in particular you like as a pivot or leverage option from him?
As a pivot, I mean, is Dennis Schroeder like a pivot at 4,200? Different positionality, same kind of price tag.
Malik Beasley.
Okay.
Beasley's just not made his shots this series. And also talking about some alt lines, if you guys are like me and think there's a chance that Malik Beasley just does his normal thing, last I had looked, he is plus 200 to score over 15 and a half points, which he averaged 16 and a half points in the regular season. So if you just get Malik Beasley to knock down his shots and play his normal minutes, then I think all of a sudden you're looking at a guy who's probably pretty undervalued. And if he does play his normal minutes, that's probably going to come at the expense of Asar Thompson. Because if you look at the minutes that he's played so far in this series, he just hasn't made his shots. That's limited his playing time. There's been one game he made his shots, Eric. That was game one. He shot 6 of 12 from 3. He played 35 minutes. The last couple of games, he just hasn't made his shots. 2 of 7 from 3 last game. He plays 26 minutes. 3 of 9 from 3 the game before. He plays 26 minutes. The game before, he played 23 minutes. He went 2 of 10 from 3 in that game. If you just get him to make 35+% of his 3-point shots, maybe 40%, then all of a sudden I think you're looking at mid-30s minutes for Malik Beasley. He's somebody I want to be overweight to, and I think he's the leverage play off of Thompson.
I don't hate it whatsoever. What's really weird about Malik Beasley, and I don't really ever look at splits when it comes to like home road, but like sometimes when you get a guy in a new situation, he might have familiarity with the building, he might not. He always loved shooting in Minnesota. I remember him talking about that a long time ago, just because of the way that the Target Center is set up, where it's black on the seats and everything else. I've never seen a quote from him. I haven't Googled a quote from him, but I do have on my sheet home road splits just for fun. He shoots at 44% on the road. He only shoots at 38% at home this season, which is kind of wild. Now, I don't know if it's like Utah type splits. I don't know which number of the games. Maybe it has something to do with the way that he's utilized there. Maybe like an Asar Thompson plays better at home. I don't know what to make of it entirely. All I know is that the percentages are what they are. The guy is legitimately 43.8% from 3 in 44 away games, including the playoffs this season. 38.1%. Both of those are good figures for what it's worth. But as you said, has not shot the ball well in this series. In fact, has had only one game where he was remotely competent from 3, and that was game 1. We all saw that, 6 for 12 from 3. So I'm with you. I think he's definitely somebody at 4,100. He took a drastic cut. He was a 5,300, and everybody wanted to play him the day after he goes for 36 and ends up in the winning lineup in game 1. Now you're talking about 26 minutes that could turn into 30. I think he's definitely the guy I want to get to as well. I like Dennis Schroeder. I like Thompson for what it's worth too. He's had awful foul trouble the first 3 games of this series. The game 4, he didn't end up getting utilized as much. He had no foul trouble whatsoever. Just didn't end up utilizing him to close out that game. But we'll see how it goes. It's going to be very game script dependent. But as you said, the ownership's there for Asar Thompson. It's not really there on the other 2 guys.
Yeah, and I'm about even with the field on Thompson. I'm slightly overweight. He's in half of my lineups, but I do come in well overweight to the field on Malik Beasley, who I have a comparable amount of exposure to with Asar Thompson, but Beasley being 34% owned compared to Asar Thompson being 42% owned. So those are the most chalk options on DraftKings. Here's what we have for ownership over on FanDuel. Where FanDuel, we do have a little bit more condensed chalk. We've got Kawhi 54% owned. James Harden is 57% owned. It is Kawhi. 54% owned James Harden. Then you got nearly 50% ownership on Jamal Murray, 45% ownership to Michael Porter Jr. Thompson is still 45% owned. Cade 44% owned. Harris 44%. Norman Powell is 42% owned. And then also Mikal Bridges is 41.5% owned. So chalk, way more prevalent on FanDuel than it is on DraftKings. I know I just listed through a bunch of guys here, but are there any in particular ones that stand out to you as being too popular on the FanDuel side of things?
Yeah, I'm going to play both sites today. One player in particular is kind of standing out to me for the FanDuel slate that I really want to play. But Norman Powell is uncomfortable, I would say, at 5,400 for him. He's gotten up to like the 36, 37 minute mark. I mean, he had been playing a lot more pre-Kawhi getting ramped up. Now Kawhi's ramped up. He's playing off ball a lot more, as he should be. I mean, I know DK DFS tweeted out as well, all the potential assists, like 12 potential assists in game 5 for Kawhi. He's out there distributing. They're playing completely through him. They should be. Like, that's kind of what it is. They should be doing that more so than Harden. And both of them sub 9K at home, must win, gotta have it spot. Definitely matters. I think 5,400 Norman Powell, Michael Porter Jr. 5,200. Like, there's ways that you can get away from that, going to a little bit more. Tim Hardaway Jr. is at 35%. It's not a huge difference, but we're talking like a 10% difference between the two. We've got some ways of getting different at like center if you want to get away from Jokic, Zubats. I mean, you could play anything else at center on FanDuel and get a little bit different. I mean, Cat's only at 15% over there, but just kind of speaking to the chalk up there, it's going to be a lot of mixing and matching. Let the Sims tool do the work for me, but I find Jamal Murray at 7,700 coming off of one good game to be a hefty meatball there at 5K, so or in 50% of lineups. So it's probably going to be undercutting a lot of Jamal Murray, undercutting a little bit of Norman Powell, but I won't be eliminating them completely. They'll still be in about a quarter of my lineups over there.
I have the same feeling on Malik Beasley versus Sar Thompson over on FanDuel. Malik Beasley, while he isn't quite as good of a fantasy producer on FanDuel because he loses the 3-point bonus, then Thompson, because of the defensive stats, is actually an even better fantasy producer on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings. But with that said, Malik Beasley is $4,500 and he's 26% owned. Sar Thompson is $4,900 and he's 45% owned. So you got Thompson 2x the ownership of Malik Beasley. Beasley was a better fantasy producer and he was more expensive for the entirety of the regular season. So I get it to an extent just based on who's played better more recently. But I don't know. You look at the bigger sample size. Should Thompson be more expensive and twice the ownership of Malik Beasley? Probably not. If these were the prices in the regular season, I know that this is not what the ownership would look like. So I feel pretty similarly about Malik Beasley's being a pivot off of Thompson on FanDuel as I do on DraftKings.
Don't mind it whatsoever. I think that's a good shout out. I mean, the back and forth as far as Bogdanovic and his potential role next to Chris Dunn is also something I'm trying to figure out what I want to do on FanDuel specifically, because Chris Dunn can, his steal prop is always like minus 300 now. It's just absurd stuff. So like you can basically bake in 3 fantasy points extra just in the steal department for him. It's all baked into the projections, but Bogdanovic in games where they've been down has been kind of the guy that they've gone to. Chris Dunn, obviously that whole game got out of hand there. Once again, game 5, it was out of hand in game 4 as well until Bogdanovic came in, played the entire fourth quarter. There's just certain spots on this slate like that. Detroit, the Clippers. I mean, we've got some interesting ownership, and Chris Dunn pulling double the ownership of Bogdanovic over on FanDuel. I kind of feel that same way about, but it makes sense considering the way they get their fantasy points.
Once again, want to remind people, as more people have come in now, that if you sign up for Portfolio EV we got another 40 minutes left in the show. If you guys sign up with the promo code WOLVES, that's all capital letters, WOLVES, you get 50% off any Portfolio EV OddsShopper package you do choose to sign up for. So take advantage of it. If you guys have been looking to try the tools, it's pretty good time of year for betting. We've got the NHL playoffs going on, NBA playoffs, baseball season is in full swing, and then also our WNBA bets actually crushed last year, and that's going to be starting next Friday or 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Yep,
I think is the first slate of WNBA season. So I'm looking forward to that as well. It's something to bet on. I had like a 13% ROI on WNBA bets. So take advantage of that. Promo code Wolves. Get yourself 50% off. Let's talk some pay up options here, Eric, where we have these guys to choose from. Well, Jokic is kind of in a tier of his own at $11,600. So we got Jokic, 30% owned. Cade Cunningham is 40% owned. Then we got James Harden, 36% owned. Jalen Brunson, 35% owned. A Cat is 24% owned. Kawhi, 41% owned. Those are all your options who are above 8K. Of those guys, who are you prioritizing paying up for?
Yeah, I like beyond any considerable amount. Like, I'm just going to play a ton of Jalen Brunson today. Like, Jalen Brunson's my favorite to get to purely because of where that price point is, 8,600. It's really hard to get away from on this slate. And Cade, as much as I like him, that extra 1,000 up there, and then you have Jokic, who obviously has been a priority for me on DK pretty much every single slate. I just think you get into these game 6s, and now the Knicks kind of played around with their food in game 5. Now Jalen Brunson, this is the kind of spot where we see him go completely nuts and eat up all of the usage like he did last season in the postseason. Just feels like 8,600 for him with the amount of usage coming his direction. it's really hard to pass up there at point guard. So I like him more than I like James Harden at the moment. Who's $100 more. It's not like I'm getting away from James Harden by any means, but amongst the spend ups, it's basically Brunson 1, Jokic 2, Cunningham 3, Harden 4 for me.
I wish we had more. Well, it's kind of funny. I'm saying I wish we had more value so that we could play a relatively low-owned Jokic, but Jokic would be more popular if we had that as the case. So like my gut feeling is that I should be getting to more Jokic than I am. But if I give him an ROI boost in the Sims, like I don't really like what that does to some of the value options I get to. It's just hard to find cheap guys to really like a good amount for this slate where, we've got guys like Asar Thompson, who, feel pretty decent about him, feel decent about Malik Beasley, somebody to be getting to as well. But these guys also aren't like uber cheap or anything like that. And the guy who's pulling the most ownership for a very cheap price point is Bogdan Bogdanovic, who didn't even make a basket until like the third or fourth game of the series or something like that. And that's somebody who's like kind of popular.
Oh, you're missing my boy. I think chat is early to the party on this one. Your boy over here advocated for 20% of his lineups to have a 3,100 Mitchell Robinson the other day at 1% ownership. That was quite useful. You don't like Mitch Rob on this slate because he was noticeably sick in game 4. It was game 5. He plays 23 minutes. I don't think he's going to play 23 minutes, but I guarantee you one thing. We had him projected for like 13 minutes or something last time. We have definitely changed our tune on that, which makes me happy. He's projected closer to 18 minutes, and that's kind of where I had him in the ballpark for. I didn't see 23 minutes and a double-double coming. I think he just smashed beyond smashed in a way that I didn't expect there at 3,400 last slate. But 3,800 for Mitch Rob, I think he's a really good piece of value yet again on this slate. I'm just nervous that we get this artificial bump because now the field saw it. He put up 35 fantasy points. He played 23 minutes. I'm just nervous that he is going to be way overowned compared to what we have projected, like at 12%. But if he continues where he is now, I just put him in for what I think he should going to be playing, like right around that 19-minute mark. I've got him in a ton of lineups, and I am obsessed at the moment.
He's okay. I have him in some lineups. I do have some reservation about his playing time just because. So Cat plays 35 minutes last game. He gets in foul trouble. Yep. The 2 previous games, he had played over 40 minutes in each of them. And if you look at Mitchell Robinson 2 games ago, he played 9 minutes. I don't think he plays 9 minutes. I don't think he gets the same minutes he played last game either. I think it's somewhere in between because if Cat doesn't get into foul trouble and he plays a few extra minutes, that comes directly from Mitchell Robinson. So like you, and I know you said you're not expecting him to play 23 minutes again. No, if you were expecting to play 23 minutes and all of a sudden he looks like the best value play on the slate by a mile, but his playing time has been all over the place in this series. He has played 18 minutes, 20 minutes, 15 and a half minutes, 9 minutes, then 23 minutes last game with some of that Cat foul trouble. I think the most likely scenarios we're getting like mid-teens minutes from him, probably something like 14 or 15 minutes, which I think makes him look acceptable. But I do think the Knicks, especially considering the situation where this is now a game 6, I think as long as he doesn't get into foul trouble, I think the Knicks ideally do want to lean on Cat to play 40 plus minutes like he did the 2 previous games.
Cat minus 14, Mitchell Robinson plus 11. They shared the floor a lot together too, is the other thing that makes me feel better about it. They shared an entire fourth quarter stint up until the 7:34 mark, and it wasn't Mitchell Robinson that checked out at that point. It was Karl Anthony Towns, who then checked back in at the 5-minute mark to close out that game. And obviously you brought it up. He had 2 fouls that were right next to each other towards that. He didn't really have foul trouble the entire game until he picked up 2 right away there in the fourth quarter. So Karl Anthony Towns foul trouble wasn't actually a thing that really made way for extra minutes for Mitchell Robinson. He basically benefited an extra 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes as a result of it. As long as Tibbs is still going to roll out Mitchell Robinson, Karl Anthony Towns lineups, which I don't see a reason that he wouldn't. They ended up sharing the entire first 5 minutes of the second quarter together as well. Cat played the entire second quarter. I feel really good about Mitchell Robinson at least having a role on this team, plus his rim protection, plus the things that Karl Anthony Towns can't do that Mitchell Robinson, that is all he is out there on the floor to do. I think it's more likely that he plays more than 16 minutes than he plays less than 16 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I think like 16 is reasonable. I personally, I'm a little bit, not like crazy low. I'm a little bit lighter on the 18 minutes versus what we have projected though. So that's somebody who, well, I get him in 10% of lineups. I'm just kind of in line with the field. He's not somebody who I'm going out of my way to jam or anything like that. I do also expect he's going to be a little bit more popular in our ownership projections, just because we've seen this throughout the entire postseason.
Yes.
Anybody who has a good game and is cheap in the winning lineup, the slate before, like we saw it. Gary Trent, some hilarious. Gary Trent, the last few games. All right. He somewhat unexpectedly gets moved into the starting lineup for the Bucks. And he's 17% owned. Goes out and scores what? 50 fantasy points that game or something like that. Next slate, nothing changes other than he played really well the game before. And he's like 50% owned. Has a bad game. So what happens? Once again, nothing has changed from the previous 2 games. He's drawing a start again. And he's back to being 10% owned. He has another really big game. Now, we're not going to see another game out of Gary Trent because they're out of the playoffs. Part of it, they're not in that situation if it isn't for him, but terrible turnover at the end of the game, which ultimately led to the Bucks losing that game. But I do think there's going to be that same sort of bump here for Mitchell Robinson, where people are just going to see like, oh, hey, Mitchell Robinson had a good game last time out, and they're going to want to roster him again. But yeah, there's a clear upside there for Mitchell Robinson, without a doubt.
I'm really worried about the bump, and obviously that's what I'm bringing up. But I'm kind of hoping just because he was 1%, people just didn't notice. I don't think he ended up, because I think BP Kelowna ended up winning the main. I played a couple more lineups in the main than I normally would on that slate, just because I liked Mitchell Robinson and thought he was a really good option to get to at 1%. But yeah, I'm with you. I think he probably gets more of a bump than I'm comfortable with, and I probably won't go crazy, but I'm definitely going to be over 15%. I can tell you that.
Yes, Sir Dodger in the chat says Mitch is today's Steven Adams. Yeah, Steven Adams is somebody else who ended up, although the Steven Adams one, I was pretty fine with that yesterday. He ended up being super, super popular. But Steven Adams had carved out like a pretty decent role for himself. Then the game just ended up being the most absurd of absurd blowouts yesterday. I know the Rockets had to put their starters back in at the end of the game, but they were up, 30-something points at one point, and then the Warriors cut the lead to like 14, so Houston put their starters back in. But Steven Adams, because he's not a starter, but he's also not somebody who plays in garbage time, he just kind of got game, like he found a way to get game scripted out of the second half, because starters are playing, game turns into a blowout, starters come out, and then the end of the bench comes in, which is not Steven Adams' role either. And then the game becomes closer. Starters come back in, but that's once again not Steven Adams' role. So in a game that's probably decided by like 10 points for the majority of it, then Steven Adams probably would have played like 20-something minutes and would have been okay, but didn't end up being the case for yesterday's slate. Let's see if we had any questions that came into Discord for us.
Nice comment from Guitar Z, man. He likes us together more than anybody else, which I'm always okay with. Fuck you, Josh. Anyway, continue on.
Sally Sal says, I hate to say it, but the Knicks got no depth. Yeah, and I mean, even if they did, Tibbs wouldn't play them anyway.
Exactly. I was going to say Miles McBride. It's so funny because it's like, I feel like Miles McBride's played well whenever I see him out on the floor. Like, I feel like he's had actually a decent series, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how he plays. His role isn't going to change at all. I mean, he got up to 22 minutes. It doesn't look good in the box score. He hasn't shot the 3 particularly well. 0 for 3 there. He had a couple previous, but like, there's just so many of these spots where I think they were probably, as I said, playing with their food a little bit more than they should have. Got it 22 minutes for Miles McBride in that game. Yeah, something tells me that gets trimmed down pretty severely to the 15-16 realm in this one. And they push to try to get out of here and get this series done with.
You know what time it is, Eric?
Oh, Nuke.
You better believe it. You better believe it. And here we go, Eric. It is time for the Nuke of the night, and got to play like right at the midway point of the show, which is what we did for a really long time. And end of the NBA regular season, we didn't really get to play the animation midway through the slate because there was always news that was breaking left and right. But now we get to a little bit more regimented with normal slates going on. But Eric, who are you looking at for your Nuke of the night? Is it going to be Mitchell Robinson, or are you looking in a different direction?
It's going to be lineup. It's going to be specific for which site. So Mitchell Robinson is going to be my Nuke of the night, but on FanDuel. He is 4K over on FanDuel. He is a block steals specialist. And you've got Jokic. Jokic is Jokic. If he puts up one of those Jokic games, it is what it is. But let me tell you, the chances that you get Mitchell Robinson sub 5% 4K, I said I was playing FanDuel for one player and one player specifically. That site is FanDuel. I think it goes even a little bit more under the radar as opposed to DK, where you can play two centers. And I think it's just easier to get them into your lineup. I think enough people are still uncomfortable when you see the ownership on Zubats, when you see the ownership on all of these other pieces. I totally get it too, but we have salary to spend on FanDuel still. I look at Cade Cunningham 10-2. I look at Brunson 9K, Kawhi sitting there, 8,800 priority option, 8,700 there. You can only play one center, and Duran, Zubats, Towns, Jokic, I totally get why they are so popular there, but I just feel like a sub 5% Mitchell Robinson based on what he can do, particularly for blocks and steals, is just too good to be passing up. So on DK, I get that his ownership has come way up because now people recognize what I said on the show. I thought he was very sick. If you watch that game in game 4, game 5, boom, switch flips. He gets back to his normal minutes allotment. And yeah, he outperformed every expectation I could have had, ended up being like the nuke of all nukes. But FanDuel specific, I definitely have to go to my guy, Mitchell Robinson, Nuke of the night. And that is why I'm playing there a lot tonight as well. And then on DK, I think it gets a little bit more grimy as far as what you're trying to do. I'm going to take shots on Nicholas Batum in a pretty big way. 3,500. It seems as though he's going to be playing ahead of Derrick Jones Jr. I feel more confident in him being somebody out there. Like if this game is competitive, even more so than like Chris Dunn, you definitely want out there, but he wasn't as involved on the boards. Christian Brown killed him on the boards, and obviously guarding Jamal Murray, who was knocking down everything, pulled him away from the basket and couldn't help out with it. He had averaged 9.5 rebound chances the first 4 games of that series, and then just a flat 0 in that department. He found scoring, but I think Nicholas Batum at 3,500 is a really nice power forward option, utility option that can make things work. So, 2 pieces of value. Mitchell Robinson on FanDuel, Nicholas Batum on DK, nukes of the night.
All right. So for myself, boy, I don't have like a crazy contrarian option I really like today. I do like Malik Beasley as a leverage option. So technically he's probably the guy I would go with, but I've already talked about him a little bit. So I want to talk about somebody else who I like a good amount on this slate. And that is my favorite overall pay up option, who's just insanely mispriced in Kawhi Leonard. Why is Kawhi $8,200 on DraftKings, Eric?
I have no idea. He's in nearly 100% of my stuff.
I just have so much exposure to Kawhi Leonard that I feel I'd be remiss if I didn't really highlight him here, but the salary is just wrong at $8,200, especially when you consider the implications of this game and what we could end up seeing for Kawhi's minutes, who he really picked the right time of the year to get healthy. I think the Clippers did a perfect job building him up this year, making sure that he was getting reps in, but wasn't being overworked early in the season and really building him up. And now we've gotten to the postseason where here's what we've gotten from playing time in the games against Denver. He's played 41 minutes. He's played 39 minutes. He played 35 minutes. So that game was the one real blowout of the series. Then he played 40 minutes. And then last game, somewhat of a blowout, 37.5 minutes. Would have played over 40 minutes had he been able to play the last few minutes of that game. But there just wasn't a need to have the starters out there for the last 3-4 minutes. So when you consider that the Clippers are facing elimination, they're down 3-2. I think we're probably looking at 40 plus minutes out of Kawhi Leonard. And he's popular, but I think he warrants being even higher owned than what he is. I think he should be the most popular player on DraftKings by a lot. He's 41% owned. I think he should be like 50 to 60% owned. So as such, I'm making a pretty aggressive stand on Kawhi Leonard as being a popular player that I am getting a pretty good overweight to the field to, Eric.
Yeah, I'm only making a handful of lineups in the main, and then I'm playing the 20 max stuff, so 40 lineups there. I have 82% Kawhi Leonard. It is definitely you and me holding hands, tip to tip, like old days. Just Kawhi Leonard. I like him as more like I think he's a better chalk option than any other piece up there, and I like the chalk at the top of the board on DK. You brought the Asar Thompson piece. I definitely think that's one you can get away from. I still think Asar Thompson can work alongside a Schroeder, alongside a Beasley. So I'm not kind of like removing them or making a rule to exclude them. I'm just kind of hoping the top of the board comes along and the 2 or 3 spots where I'm finding some deviation where I think they're a little bit overowned, hoping that comes to fruition. And obviously a pretty large Brunson stand is my other spend up on DK.
Got a super chat from D-Buff. Daniel Buffington is asking us a 2v2 question for DraftKings. On one side, Aaron Gordon and Chris Dunn. On the other side, Dennis Schroeder and Christian Brown. So, Eric, Gordon and Dunn or Schroeder and Brown?
Let me find this so I can just look at it. Gordon Dunn, Dennis Brown. That is going to be the second one for me based on my ownership. The Chris Dunn thing, man, and I bet Chris Dunn rebound ladder. Thank you so much. Didn't say points, unfortunately. Had to say rebounds, and ate my crow on that one. But I just don't think Dunn is guaranteed. And I had said that before too, where I thought it was pretty game script dependent. I think there's a lot of ways the Clippers will go in an elimination game. And if Dunn isn't knocking down shots, I don't see him playing necessarily 28, 29 minutes. I think Bogdanovich is kind of an interesting contrarian piece across the board everywhere. He's already pulling ownership, obviously 3,300, but yeah, I'm more inclined to say Dennis Brown just because I think Dennis's minutes are pretty secure, whether it was the German team that we saw him with, whether in the Olympics and FIBA where he was the most valuable player, Christian Brown, who has just been dynamic on the boards for Denver this entire series. I just feel more secure about them as opposed to the Gordon Dunn side.
Yeah, so for myself, I'm agreeing with you. I'm going with the Brown side as well. Now, with that said, of all the players that you've listed there, I don't really. So there's a couple of one like I'm not really high on Aaron Gordon for today's slate. I'm not super high on Christian Brown either. And of all those guys, Brown is actually my least favorite, but Dennis Schroeder is my favorite player of all those 4. And overall, I just added up the exposures I have to each side. And that is going to make Dennis Schroeder and Christian Brown the answer for me. We've got Brandon Mahler wants to know, can we run through DK tiers real fast? Yes, we can. So I know that the sample size here is really small, but we got questions about DK tiers all of last season. We didn't have it at all this year, so there wasn't questions to be asked. But now they bring it back for the playoffs, and we start getting questions about it again. I don't know. I feel like DraftKings should have stuck with doing tiers. I've got it pulled up here. Do you have it up, Eric?
No, I don't. So just read it off, and we'll go piece by piece and get out of there for it.
Tier 1, I don't even have. It's Jokic. Like I don't even have to tell you it's Jokic in tier 1.
Yeah, Jokic by a lot.
Jokic, Cade, Harden, and Brunson. So you're playing Jokic. He shouldn't even be. He shouldn't even be in a tier. There's no reason for it.
No, his 40th percentile outcome wins you that half the time. So that's ridiculous.
Tier 2, we've got Kat, Zubats, Jamal Murray, and Kawhi Leonard. That's Kawhi Leonard for me.
Kawhi Leonard.
Tier 3, Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, Jalen Duren, Mikal Bridges, and Tobias Harris.
Ooh.
It's Duren.
That just got disgusting. I wasn't ready for that. Find it here. I just have to look at it now. I'm just pulling up the DK lobby and looking at it because it's just so. What you just said were such disgusting humans that I have to look at it. It's Josh Hart by a lot.
Hart, Anunoby, Duren, Bridges, Harris. I mean, if you think these are bad, we're gonna get to like tier 6.
Oh yeah, no, I know it's gonna get worse, but I mean, just like I couldn't differentiate Hart, Anunoby, Duren in my head right off the bat there. So yeah, it's gonna be hard for me.
All right, tier 4. What do we have for tier 4? Tier 4, Michael Porter Jr., Norman Powell, Russell Westbrook, Christian Brown, and Aaron Gordon.
Norman Powell.
Norman Powell for me as well. Tier 5, Dennis Schroeder, Malik Beasley, Asar Thompson, Chris Dunn, Tim Hardaway Jr., Nick Batum.
What a tough tier. Like, I mean, obviously the Batum is not a tiers option. He is a DK salary relief option for your nuke. So let that be known. Going to be Dennis Schroeder probably for me.
Yeah, I mean, so to me, the answer is Asar Thompson, but I still like the idea of getting Malik Beasley as a pivot there. But like salary agnostic, I'm going to go with Asar Thompson, Malik Beasley if I'm looking for somebody who's likely to be lower owned. And now finally, tier 6, which is Bogdanovich, McBride, Isaiah Stewart, Derek Jones Jr., Peyton Watson, Mitchell Robinson, Campaign Paul Reed. I know who you're going to answer.
Oh, it is Mitchell Robinson, darling. Oh, I might have to put this tiers lineup in now. I just built it. I'm in.
Yeah, it's pretty easily Mitchell Robinson for me amongst those options.
Let's go.
The closest guy, if you need a second consideration, is Bogdanovich, but Mitchell Robinson over Bogdanovich for me. Anyway, thank you very much for the super chat. That one was from Brandon Mahler. Now we've got a super chat from official Chris Presto channel. Chris wants to know, he says he's playing on FanDuel tonight. He says he agrees with a Kawhi stand and a Brunson stand. Says he's playing a lot of Beasley, Schroeder, and Cunningham. Says, thank you guys. All right, no question. He just wanted to give out some of his core plays and say thank you. And I don't have any issue with any of those guys. Kawhi and Brunson as your pay-up options. Beasley, Schroeder, Cunningham. Cunningham also obviously pay-up option, but Beasley, Schroeder. I don't have issues with any of that, Eric.
All looks lovely to me. Good luck, and thank you for the super chat.
Yes, sir. Discord now. I saw a question come in. It's not showing up in my notifications for some reason, but I thought I saw other ones. Yeah, here we go. All right. Krebsy says Brown and Jokic or Cade Cunningham and Josh Hart.
Oh, man.
That's Cade and Hart for me.
Yeah, the Brown piece. I mean, he's played so well, but yet like the usage is just so capped, and he's already. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the second one. I just have a lot more of the second one.
And now we've got, I like this. I like this because this is an opportunity for us to fall flat on our faces and look like complete assholes, Eric.
Right.
Because the next question is, who is our top fade on each site, FanDuel and DraftKings? I've got the same guy for both sites. I want to know who you have as your favorite fade.
I will let you know here as I'm finishing up my DK run and my FanDuel run one more time. But I think before this show, it was Mikal Bridges.
It is Jamal Murray for me. For reference, Jamal Murray is almost the same price as Kawhi Leonard. Yeah. Jamal Murray just had like the ceiling of Nuke games, which Jamal Murray does in the playoffs. He has these absurd games. I do think it's also really funny, the Jamal Murray memes where he's like, he's going to be the first NBA player people don't believe in because he can't do it in the regular season, which is true. He's never even been close to an all-star consideration. But if you just watch the postseason, you go like, oh, that's an all-star caliber player. But like, not really. He's never made an all-star team. He's never even been close to making an all-star team. He has these massive blow-up games in the postseason at times, but otherwise he's just kind of mediocre as a fantasy producer. He's like around a fantasy point per minute. Obviously, Jokic is the focal point of the offense. So I think Jamal Murray could get steamed a little bit because of what he ended up doing last game. And then plus his price has gone up. I just think just about every other pay-up option has a higher ceiling than Jamal Murray. So I barely have any exposure to him.
I'm with you. FanDuel specifically, I definitely know that I'm way under on Jamal Murray. DK is not all that popular. I had him in like 15% of my lineups before this show, but you could definitely make a case. So he's not the guy that I'm the most underweight on. I will say this. I'm very confused by like a 15% Derek Jones Jr. He's not a good fantasy producer. You're basically just asking him to come in and go inferno. In a closeout game, does Derek Jones Jr. off the bench even get that much run? And he's pulling 15, 16% ownership. Like, I know you got to find something in terms of value. So I get it. But like, man, that's a big ownership number for a guy that I just didn't expect to see that in our update. So I like Batum. I definitely like the Batum side off the bench because I think he has chances to close. He actually is out there with the usage and getting things done sometimes offensively. But yeah, it's just like that push and pull, I think, in terms of value. And, not saying this or that, like that I just know better or whatever. Oh, Christian Brown and Jamal Murray, I'm way under on. So good to know on DK.
Yeah. Jamal Murray is the player I come in most underweight to. So he is my answer for DK. He's my answer for FanDuel as well. So Jamal Murray. Thank you for the question, Sal. The next question we have from Discord is from The Process. He wants to know, how do we like to get different for single entry today? For me, it's playing a lineup with Malik Beasley over Asar Thompson. I think that's a really interesting angle. For yourself, anything in particular you're eyeing for single entry is a good strategy?
Anything for single entry? Mitchell Robinson looks like a great option.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know he's a contrarian guy you like. He's going to be even lower owned in single entry probably. So, maybe not lower owned in single entry, but either way, he's not going to be crazy popular on either side or anything like that. So I don't have any issues with that. We've got Bando wants to know, who do we prefer between the 3 top point guards tonight? All right, so 3 top point guards. He is going to be referencing here Cade Cunningham, James Harden, Jalen Brunson. Also, just to bring this back to Jamal Murray, one of the reasons I also find it hard to get to Jamal Murray is because all of these guys, while being more expensive than Jamal Murray, are not so much more expensive that it's like a crazy discrepancy. And I just think all these guys look much better than Jamal Murray. But Eric, if you can only pay up for 1 point guard today, who would you be choosing?
Jalen Brunson.
Cade Cunningham for me. Elimination game at home. I think he's live to play the entire game.
I think the same about Brunson.
Could be. I mean, the difference though is it's not an elimination game for Brunson. So I think he's going to play a ton, but I think that Tibbs he's still a war criminal, but he's been a little bit more reasonable. More of like
a Stalin than a Hitler. Okay. That's good to know.
I mean, you look at the last 3. Also, Brunson is not healthy, which just happens to Tom Thibodeau teams. Brunson played 36.5 minutes last game. He played 38.5 minutes in the previous game, 38.5 minutes the game before. Games 1 and 2, he played 48.5 and 44 minutes. I just don't know that he's physically capable of shouldering that kind of workload right now, just because. Also, this is just going off of like my memory. I think he's hurt his ankle in every game this series.
Yeah. Honestly, he's not running very good in that department. You know who looks really good, though, who doesn't play for Tom Thibodeau anymore? Julius Randle. I just wanted to throw it out there. Julius Randle looks pretty spry out there at the moment, huh?
Yeah, because he isn't hurt going into the playoffs, which has happened to him every year playing for Tibbs. Because you play for Tibbs, and it's like, hey, Julius Randle, you got to play 40 minutes per game in these regular season games. Then he's hurt. He comes back in the playoffs when he's not 100%. People are like, oh, Julius Randle, not a playoff player. Which, not like he's a world beater or anything like that, but Julius Randle's solid. And I think he's kind of got an unfair rap because of his heavy workloads in the regular season. It's led to him being not healthy in the playoffs. But yeah, for Jalen Brunson, who, by the way, I like for today, I'm just referencing who my favorite point guard is. It's Cade. I view him as being the guy with the highest ceiling at the position. And I mean, we've just seen him absolutely crush throughout this playoffs as well. Cade's a guy. Cade is an absolute franchise cornerstone who I think last year people were kind of starting to get out on when he had the shin splints issue. And then there was also just the team struggling. But anyway, Cade, that's going to be my guy I like paying up for at point guard. We've got D Streets asking us from Discord, Bridges and Bogdan or Harris and Batum?
Oh, it's funny. I put the super chat up that we got from John C. Billups too that we haven't gotten to yet. And that had 2 pieces, but on the opposite ends of the equation. What were those 2 in Discord again?
So Bando, Bando was the last one. This is D Streets asked us Bridges and Bogdan Bogdanovic or Harrison Batum. Then we'll answer John C's question.
Probably Harrison Batum for me. I have a ton of both.
Let's see. Harris. Yeah, I don't have a ton of Batum. I do have a lot of Harris. Yeah, I'll go Harrison Batum as well. Yeah. So let's answer John C's question that Eric threw up here on screen. It's Bridges and Robinson or Bogdan and OG. I know what side you're going with.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I don't like Bridges. I don't like Bridges. So It's just so difficult because I have more OG than I have Bridges, but then the Robinson piece. Yeah, I'm going with the Bridges Robinson side just because it's Robinson.
I'm going to go the Bridges Robinson side. I'm underweight to both Bridges and Anunoby, though. So, relative to ownership, I don't love either of them. I do slightly prefer Bog. It's hard. I view it as very comparable, but I'll agree with you and go with option 1 there. Then we also got a question from Discord. King Yusuf wants to know, what are our thoughts on MPJ, Michael Porter Jr.? in a DK GPP. Any kind of stand for you on Michael Porter Jr., Eric?
Let me pull him up.
I'm right in line with the field. I think the ownership is
38%.
about right on Michael Porter Jr.
Yep.
He is 36% owned. I've got him in 40% of my lineups. I'm right there with the field.
Yep. Same.
Yeah, so Michael Porter Jr., somebody who I want to be rostering for today, and that is going to answer all of the questions we have. Once again, if you guys haven't done it, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Don't forget, sign up. We only got a few minutes left in the show. Sign up. Promo code Wolves. Take advantage of OddsShopper Portfolio EV. 50% off with the promo code Wolves. Eric, Wolves fan. Me, the only Rudy Gobert fan on the planet, because he came through for me yesterday. Well, I guess Wolves fans probably like Rudy Gobert now well, but
we do.
It was funny. I had some people who messaged me yesterday who had said, I like the Rudy Gobert bet. I just don't like to bet on Rudy Gobert. So I couldn't pull the trigger, but it's all right. He came through, and at the very least, he's going to be giving back to you guys via this promo here, because if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be doing this. Promo code Wolves, 50% off, all capital letters. Sign up at Portfolio EV today. Let's go through some of our most rostered players at each position, because M Grizzly wants to know who our most rostered guys are. So we can do it for both DraftKings and FanDuel. Let's start with DK though, Eric. Who do you have the most exposure to at point guard for DraftKings?
Jalen Brunson.
Cade Cunningham for me.
Just
shooting
fine.
guard.
That is, let me pull my stuff up now, because now I actually have to say it correctly. Malik Beasley.
Same. Malik Beasley for me. Small forward.
Sar Thompson.
Also Malik Beasley, but Asar Thompson. At power forward.
Kawhi Leonard by a landslide.
Kawhi. And then at center, that is Jalen Duren for me.
Mitchell Robinson.
Look at you. Big boy
stand. I ended up doing it. 48%.
FanDuel side of things at point guard, that is James Harden for me on FanDuel.
It is going to be Jalen Brunson again.
Yeah, it's just the $8,700 price tag on Harden does make him look a little bit better on FanDuel than DraftKings. Shooting guard for me, that is Asar Thompson on FanDuel.
It is Asar Thompson. Yep.
Small forward, that will be Tobias Harris for me.
Tobias Harris.
Power forward, Kawhi Leonard.
Kawhi Leonard.
And then at center, Jalen Duren again.
I have 50% Mitchell Robinson.
Look at you. Look at
there
you.
We go. Again, yeah. I also like to live dangerously. 20 beats your 5. I'm sorry, sir.
Let's see what else we've got. Steve McGee wants to know last man in, Josh Hart or Jalen Duren. Yeah, that's Duren for me. If we're just talking about, just the utility spot, you could fit either of them in. That's Duren for me over Hart.
Yeah, Duren for sure. We had that one. Well, so many super chats this show. You guys are the best. We really appreciate it. Here's this long one. LA7, XLA7, XL. That's a great name.
Yeah, I think that's one of Elon Musk's kids' names or something like that.
I wear many hats.
Took down 2 small contests last week, so saying thanks. Question, do you personally like to double down after a rough night or wait until you heat back up? I don't. My results from the past have almost no bearing on what I do the next day.
Yeah, I try to figure out what is my edge, or also what am I comfortable with being on a show talking through different stuff. Because again, I'd say my volumes come down as the years have gone on, purely because I think people have gotten better, and I'm on shows and I don't necessarily have the ability to react in the same way that I once did. I think that there's a number of ways to go about it, but I can tell you one thing: when I feel like I have an edge, I play a lot more. When I feel like I don't have an edge, I play less.
Yeah. So for me, it's more or less the same. What dictates how much? Well, I mean, there's also just if it's a big NBA slate and I have plans for the night or something, which doesn't happen all that often, but every once in a while it does. If it does happen,
meatloaf.
Yeah, yeah. That's a big deal. What are you, meatloaf night? What are you kidding me? Meatloaf, mashed potatoes? Yeah, that's the priority.
Yeah. I'm not gonna late swap. I'm gonna late swap when I'm nice and full. I want to sit there.
Yeah. So for me, of all of the things that dictate how much volume I play on a day, what I did the night before is the last thing that comes into play for me. It's like, do I think I have an edge on this late? Am I going to be busy? Am I going to be available to late swap? Like, those are the things that are considerations for me. Not so much what I did the day before. Whether I win or lose the day before, I'm not chasing losses. I'm not like, oh my God, I won 2 days in a row. I got to be the greatest ever at this. Also, I think part of this as well is I've been playing DFS seriously for 10 years now. 2015 is when I started doing this as a primary source of income. So I think I've just experienced so much of the ups and downs that it really doesn't impact me all that much. It didn't a ton in the past relative to other people either, but like it really doesn't at all now either.
Yeah, last week I looked at the, some of the sim ROI stuff, and, I had my roto tracker and whatever else. And, the one thing that does check in on me once in a while is it's like, oh, my account balance is lower than what it was a week ago. And that always feels a little bit strange, but I've been doing it a long time too. I'm the same way as Greg. I used to get really high, really low. I think the only thing that really gets me going now is when I've got a big sweat and I've got a fade. Like when I'm chasing, I'm never really all that nervous because it's like, oh, I don't know what the number is. But if after a first game, like I can remember, I don't know, I was winning like 15K on an MLB slate last week with like Coors Field. Like, I can't remember the exact scenario, but like you have so many of these that show up over the course of a year. The ones that are nervous is when you're trying to hold on for dear life. I ended up getting like second in the $4, so it was fine. But like, that kind of stuff gets me way more nervous than like chasing like into the night. So yeah, don't think about it too much anymore.
One more question here from Sal. Sal wants to know, are we doing late swap? Yeah. I mean, we're going to have updated ownership after contest lock. So yeah, I'll run late swap for that. If you're asking, are we like late swapping for a particular news item or anything like that? No, I'm just going to be late swapping because we're going to have the live ownership with, just like more slightly accurate updated ownership. So I'll be running for that, but I don't know. There's no piece of news I have in mind that I'm going to be changing stuff for yourself.
No, I mean, I doubt we're going to get a Russell Westbrook starting. I doubt we're going to get anything changing in the Clippers starting lineup. You might get some different minutes here and there for certain guys, and hopefully Batum plays more than Derrick Jones Jr. Hopefully, Chris Dunn plays less, like just looking at my lineups and the way they're constructed for today. But like, I'm still going to always react to new information, even when that first game is done. I'll have a little bit of time to be able to say, all right, Mitchell Robinson played 8 minutes and I'm fucked. But, stuff like that, where you can basically just try to maneuver your lineups around and be like, all right, well, guess we're just jamming Jokic as my other center, no matter what, trying to like make up for, Duran and everybody else. Like you have a lot of center information in this first game. I think that's going to be a big thing for me too, is between Robinson, Cat, Duran, I'll have a better idea of exactly how I want to go about Zubats and Jokic in this late night window. Like that stuff you should be thinking about that has nothing to do with what we expect a starting lineup or injury information late swap to be. You should still late swap. Final question of the night here, Eric. Who are you most scared is going to ruin your lineups? I think you probably have a pretty clear answer. Yeah. Mitchell Robinson could very much ruin my lineups. I have 48% of him on DK. I have 50%. I had to cap him on FanDuel, but like, if his FanDuel ownership ends up being 4%, I feel like I've won before the slate even begins. For me, I've got a ton of Jalen Duren. He's in more than half my lineups. If he gets into foul trouble, which he's mostly avoided this series, but could always pop up with him guarding Karl Anthony Towns. Like that's something that could sink a lot of my lineups. So that's definitely something that is a concern for me. Jamal Murray, I don't know much of him. If he goes out and has a massive game, that could be problematic. But of guys who are in my lineup, or my lineups, I should say, Jalen Duren, he's the one who could potentially ruin me. But that is going to bring us to lock here, guys. If you have not done it, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Final call for the Wolves promo. This is 50% off Portfolio EV with the promo code Wolves, link down below in the YouTube description box. So take advantage of that. There is not going to be a post-lock show over on Playback because, well, I don't really have like something pressing to do, but my family, a lot of Knicks fans. So I'm going to be watching the basketball game with my family tonight. So that's why I'm not going to be over doing the post-lock show, but we're still going to be leaving the stream going over there. So if you guys do want to watch amongst yourselves,
head on over into Playback. I dropped the link into the YouTube chat. You guys could watch the game in there, chat amongst yourselves. You could buy a subscription to our Playback channel, and that will enable you to watch all of the games in there whenever you want throughout the postseason. So check that out as well. Other than that, guys, good luck with your lineups. See you back here tomorrow. Peace.